If you're at some place in your life where you're trying to transition, you're in a dead-end job, you're not liking it, just imagine if tomorrow everything changed, everything ended, you could no longer do that, but it was the biggest curse of your life because your income stopped, and then all of a sudden, it was the greatest opportunity you ever dealt with. My guest, Wade Elliott, is that dentist, is that guy that was making tens of thousands of dollars a month on Easy Street and dentistry, and one day, something happened. What's going on, everybody? Chris Naugle back with the Money School podcast. And on this podcast, what we talk about, and you already know this, but it's money, but not specifically money. We talk about how you will take back control of your money by being the bank. I've got an unbelievable show today, a show of a gentleman who has gone through things I hope none of you have to. He was a dentist, crushing it, top of his game, making lots of money. One day had something happen, and all of a sudden the dentistry ended just like that. But it was the best thing ever. The curse turned into a blessing, and that blessing landed him in real estate. His first real estate deal, he made more money on that deal than he ever did as a general dentist. Think about that. If you're at some place in your life where you're trying to transition, you're in a dead-end job, you're not liking it, just imagine if tomorrow everything changed, everything ended, you could no longer do that, but it was the biggest curse of your life because your income stopped. And then all of a sudden, it was the greatest opportunity you ever dealt with. That's what we're going to talk about today. My guest, Wade Elliott, is that dentist, is that guy that was making tens of thousands of dollars a month on Easy Street and dentistry. And one day, something happened. Let's get into it. Wade, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, let's just start right from there. So you were a dentist, incredibly successful. I think everybody watching this show knows dentists do very well. We all know our dentists. We know dentists in our community. They live in the big houses, drive the nice cars. They do well. And you know what? Good that they do. How many years of school did they have to go through? And I want you to talk about that. But when it all ended, that's the most important thing. So Wade, tell us a little bit about life before the incident.
Yeah, so really good life, comfortable, trading time for money. I always had in the back of my head, like, is that the best thing to do? And I always was interested in real estate, but never really had the time or the energy to go all in because I was a practicing dentist. And one day, one patient, working on that patient, I felt a sharp burning pain in my neck, radiated down my right arm. My arm went numb. That was the last day that I did dentistry. It actually got so bad that I couldn't do a push-up, couldn't shoot a free throw. Very, very scary time. But as you said, all curses turned out to be blessings, I believe. And there was a blessing. I was able to go all in on real estate.
You went all in on real estate, but how long did it take? Like, that event where you had that tingle in your neck that landed you like literally unable to do your career that you spent how many years in college to do?
Well, it was 9. I did a residency after dental school for a year at a hospital. So it was 9.
I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. I mean, I deal with a lot of dentists and I know this, but 9 years of school to be a dentist, to trade hours for dollars. Just rationalize that, folks. Like, that's why they make the money they do. But it all just ended. And then all of a sudden you had to find your way. Now, you kind of mentioned that you were talking and thinking about real estate, but you didn't have the resources and you didn't have the time to do it. So now you had all the time, but you got no income coming in. Because I'd have to believe that once you were unable to perform your duties, like as a dentist, the income had to have stopped. Did it not?
It did stop. It went from $30,000 a month to zero overnight. And I had about a 6-month period where I had to jump through all of the hoops for my disability policy to kick in. And it eventually kicked in 6 months later, and a third of what I was making, which was challenging, but made it work. And then, went all in on real estate and really devoted time and energy and resources to getting into self-storage. And I had the good fortune when I was practicing dentistry, I had a patient that had some self-storage facilities, and he would talk about it. And every time he came in, I would go over, I'd have hygienists pulling on my chair, like, hey, you got to come do exams. And I would put it off saying, no, this is important. And I would talk to him about, his experience in self-storage. And, he had a life that I really liked. He had a lot of freedom. He was always fishing and hunting and going on these amazing trips. And so I think that's what kind of really sparked the seed of getting into self-storage, was through the patient that I had. So, dentistry was a blessing in that I was introduced to self-storage through a patient in dentistry.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, it's interesting self-storage because, I think the listeners, when I say real estate, what is everybody listening thinking of? If you're thinking of something in real estate, put it down in the comments right now. Like, what is it you think about when you think real estate? And for me, when I think about real estate, I think about rentals, I think about flips, I think about, developing something. Usually one of the last things I would think of is those storage facilities that we keep driving by, because how many people actually need to store shit? It can't be that many, but clearly it is, because here's the stats. In 12 years, folks, this is why you need to listen to this. In 12 years, Wade and his group have done over 1 million square feet of storage, 4,510 units. In 12 years. Now, that may seem like a long time, but I don't think you quite realize how much 1 million square feet of storage is. So pay attention, because this is very important. And folks, you might be in the wrong path in your life. You might be in the wrong path in real estate. This might just course correct you, because the way he did it clearly worked. And he was a dentist, knew nothing about real estate. It's not like he was born in a family. And we're going to talk about your upbringing, because a lot of people think, oh, well, you're a dentist, you must have came from money, you had a handout or something. No, he did not grow up that way. Grew up on, just like I did, subsidized, Goodwills, and a single mom. And that's another important thing, but we'll cover that in a second. So storage, what was so sexy about storage that that's the direction you went?
I don't know. Storage is not sexy at all, but
No.
what was sexy to me was I could see the patient and the freedom that he had. And he, the management was simple. He would talk about, he wasn't at the facilities all the time. It took a little bit to get going, and he actually helped me with the first one, with the metrics and, what to do and who to talk to. And he had a big part in it. And I think the thing that I love about it so much is that it's not sexy, and that it's reproducible, and there's not plumbing, there's not, all the carpet, and it's low maintenance.
What's the risk in storage? Like, when I think of storage, I've been to a couple storage facilities, but I've never rented from one. And, it's just like steel buildings with garage doors. Sometimes there's a fence around them. Sometimes there's not. There's usually this one building that I never see anybody in. So, like, when you're thinking about getting into storage, what is the learning curve? Like what are the most difficult things about taking and devoting to, like, let's just say storage, like you did?
I think, we made some mistakes, obviously. Our first project, you just don't know what you don't know. So, we had to deal with highway access. We had to deal with the railroad. We had to deal with wetlands. There was a flooding event. Like, all of these things I just kind of learned on the way. And, now we are able to sort some of those out. We're a lot better at our due diligence, and we've evolved, and you can stub your toe, and it's a big investment on the front end. But if you do it right and dot all your I's, cross all your T's, you minimize those a lot.
I'm going to transition back to that day where dentistry ended for Wade. Now, there was a period of time, and correct me if I'm wrong, of roughly 2 to 3 years before you completed your first real estate deal and made more money than you'd ever made in dentistry. So during that 2 to 3 years, you had mentioned you were smart enough, and folks, I want all of you to pay attention to this. Like, that event can happen to every single one of us, that career-ending event. And it might be something so stupid as you're doing your job, and all of a sudden you get a tingle in your neck, and then all of a sudden you no longer can do that. If he didn't have disability insurance, which is it's an insurance that, when I was a financial advisor, nobody wanted to buy it. It's boring, it's expensive, but you know what? It's for that what if moment. And that what if moment happens. So, you're getting, if I did the math right, about $10,000 a month. You're used to 30, so that was tough. But for 2 to 3 years, that gave you the time. And you took that time, you got educated, you got to understand and know, I always say know, like, and understand storage in real estate. And then you completed that first deal, that monumental deal. Like, can we just walk through like the mechanics of like, what did that look like, feel like, and how did you hit a home run in your first one? I mean, maybe it was just God, who knows?
I would say that there's some luck. A REIT ended up buying that facility. So, I mean, and they really wanted it. So there was some luck involved. And I think the other thing that I would give your listeners is I'm a lifelong learner. So I would go to all of the self-storage conventions every year. I would take every class. I would, ask all of the people that were in the self-storage space. And a lot of the people from my experience they just give in the self-storage space. And I haven't found that in other asset classes. They tend to be kind of hold it a little tight to the chest. And for whatever reason, the self-storage space, everybody seems to be very generous and giving of knowledge. And, I ask a lot of questions. I was very curious along this journey. And I think that's helped me a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, asking
Being humble
questions.
and asking.
Yeah, I mean, the person that does not succeed is the person that never asks a question. The smartest person in the room is usually the one asking the most questions. And it sounds like that was certainly your path. So you did that first deal, you sold it to a REIT, a little bit of luck there, but that wasn't your last deal because you've done 4,510 units. So when you got into the next deal, what'd you do different in the second deal?
I think it's as we developed, I can't take credit for all of it. I have an amazing team that, helps facilitate it. I would say that as it evolved, I was more the visionary and get people that are smarter than me and more able to execute on a lot of the tasks. Early on, we did all the management, we did everything, and realized that, we're probably not the best at that, managing all of the facilities. So, getting the right people in the right seats was super critical.
All right. Now this show's about money. So now I'm going to pivot this thing and we're going to talk about money. So, everybody that's been listening has heard this thing. You had this big, exit, sold to a REIT, made a bunch of money, but you went through a lot in 2 to 3 years, going from 30 to 10,000 on a fixed income. So you can't just get into real estate. I don't care how many of you think you can just dive into real estate. You need no money and it's just going to work perfectly. You're going to become a multimillionaire and you didn't use any money out of your pocket. I know that's not your story and your path, but how did you raise the money to get to that first deal? Because listen, I got to believe, and maybe I could be wrong, maybe you saved a bunch when you were a dentist, but I got to believe there was a different path you took to raise the money to get into that. Let's go down that path right there.
Yeah, that goes back to some luck. So when I first got going, the banks were doing loans based on loan to value instead of loan to cost before the whole crisis thing happened. That helped me a lot. I think the loan to value instead of loan to cost. And I did have a multifamily unit that 27 unit apartment complex that I had developed or, bought when I was doing dentistry. It was a crack house. It was a bank owned. I think I paid $600,000 for it.
For a 27 unit?
Yeah, I know. It was a shithole. It wasn't very good. I don't know if I could.
Yeah. Some of them were here in 27 units in the dollar. They're like, oh my gosh, wow. Yeah, but it's a crack house. So that wasn't fun.
Yeah, no, it was very beat up, and as luck would have it, there was a crackhead family that kicked the crackhead out. He went below the unit, lit a mattress on fire, trying to burn the people that kicked him out, burnt half of it down, rebuilt it. So I increased the value a bunch and sold it. And that was the initial seed capital.
Dude, that's not luck. Did you seriously call that luck that a crackhead tried burning the people alive that kicked him out, which inadvertently burned your place down and gave you insurance money to rebuild it, which it's not luck. It's just circumstance.
That the fire had happened, I was freaking out. I was like, now I just lost everything. But then someone said, well, you have insurance, don't you? I said, yeah, I've got insurance on it. And then the insurance kicked in, rebuilt it, and I was able to sell it for obviously more money and use that as capital. And I had saved some money as a dentist.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So Now let's kind of get more to current time. So I met you at a mastermind, and that leads right into you're just a sponge. You're always trying to get more info. And I know you happen to be at a mastermind that I was speaking at on the infinite banking concept, which maybe we will, maybe we won't cover that topic on kind of your approach and what you saw in that. But I want to kind of talk about how did you go in 12 years to doing over 1 million square feet of storage? Because that, it's great you did that one deal. Yeah, you had a little bit of luck or misfortune of someone trying to burn people alive. Like, it's wild. But, you didn't get where you're at by just like kind of guessing or doing this. You've gotten pretty good at raising money. So let's talk a little bit about how you do that today, how a lot of people are benefiting from your success because of what you do and how you do it in storage. So let's talk a little bit about that, because some people at this point are like, well, I want to do that. I want in on this. And well, I think you don't right now have opportunities for them, but in the future there will be, because I know that, because I'm going to be one of the people that's taking advantage of these storage facility opportunities you have. I don't have the time. I'm like when you were a dentist, I don't have the time to go out there and figure storage out, go to events for storage. And I hope I never have that little thing in my neck. I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing, but I'm also smart enough to know there's people way smarter than me in fields that I wish I was in that I can kind of just lean into. I can capitalize some of their projects and I can benefit from the project. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. I think right now we've syndicated 2 deals. We just finished our second deal that we syndicated, and I'm learning that as we go. I don't have it figured out up until I think we started raising maybe 8 months ago. All of the deals we would, build one, sell one, then maybe do 2, sell one of those. We've had to sell deals to get to this point. So the 1 million square feet is not currently what we own. It's what we've developed over, the last 12 years and sold. We've had to sell some, then we have good exits and we use that money to do the next one. But I think what I'm super interested in, and I would love to dig in, is this whole idea about being your own bank. Like, banks are a pain in the ass. They are a necessary.
They're bastards. Let's just say it. They're bastards. That's what they are.
They just don't move as fast as we want to move. So this idea of being your own bank, and I'm very, very interested in that. And that's what drew me to you. When you started talking about that on stage at the mastermind, I'm like, this guy can teach me something. And so I'm very, very interested in exploring that and going down that path.
Your real estate business lives and dies by the network and the connections that you make. I mean, after all, your network, well, it's your net worth. That's what you always heard, right? If that's an area where you desire improvement, well, Private Money Club, it's for you. PMC saves you precious time and money by bringing the real estate world, well, right to you, right in the palm of your hand. So get in on the action, like so many others have, by going to privatemoneyclub.com and sign up.
And we'll definitely cross that bridge. But I mean, it's just, with being your own bank and taking back control, which I mentioned earlier, that's what this show's about. It's so simple. That's the thing. A lot of people are like, oh, I couldn't be the bank. I don't have any money. No. I didn't have any money when I started either. I started with literally $240 a month. And listen, there isn't many of you listening to this podcast right now that don't have $240 a month that you could save every month. And that's where I started. Now, that was over 10 years ago, actually probably longer than that. I'm dating myself, but that was a long time ago, but that's just where I started. And all it takes, folks, and Wade, I guess I'll tell you too, all it takes is changing where your money goes first. Instead of giving it to the banks, which we all understand how banks work, you give money to a bank pays you an interest rate. Okay, usually a pretty bad one. The bank takes your money that you gave up control of and goes out there and lends your money out and does other things to make your money work for them. Think about that. Like, you work for your money and you work really hard for your money just to give up control of it to a bank that then takes your money and makes it go to work for them. And gives you, I don't even want to say it's the scraps, but that's about all they give you. They give you the scraps, like the terrible leftovers that you don't want, which is that measly interest rate you're getting from a bank when they're out there making 400 to 1,400% more than you are, according to BauerFinancial.com. So in order to be the bank, first thing you need to do is stop giving your money to the banks and change where it goes. Now, I'm not going to go deep into this, but I'm just going to give high level. There's a place, an institution, a financial institution that's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, always has been the most financially stable institution that there is in the world. And I'm not telling you this is the gospel. This is a fact because this is where the wealthiest families throughout history have stored the majority of their wealth. Those of the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, the Morgans and the Stanleys. I'll leave it at them. They used giant mutually owned life insurance companies, and they used a vehicle that all of you know and all of you hate called whole life insurance. But it's not normal whole life. It's a custom, specially designed and engineered whole life. That's the only way it works to be the bank. And they change where their savings goes first. And when you put it over there, that gives you an amazing opportunity to make money twice on the same dollar because you get to do the same thing a bank does. Let me refresh your memories. A bank, you give up control of money to them. The bank pays you an interest rate. Let's just call that 2%. So if the bank pays you 2, how much do you think they lend it out for? Probably an average of right now, probably around 8. So subtract 8, what the bank is making from the 2 that the bank is giving you back. And what is that? Doesn't matter. It's a spread. That's how banks make money. How do you do the same thing as a bank? Well, by using a policy, the insurance company pays you interest on a guaranteed basis, okay, guaranteed for the rest of your life, plus a dividend. And right now, just all intensive, the rate's anywhere between 5.75 and 6.4, depending on the company we use. So already you can sit there and say, that's way better than what I'm getting in a bank. But wait, not only do you earn that dividend crediting rate, you get that tax-free, but not only is it tax-free, it's protected against judgments and liens in case someone decides to slip and fall and sue you, plus you provide a legacy in the form of a death benefit for your family. So that's already way better than what a bank could ever give you. But here's the one thing, and I remember the first time I heard about this in Utah with this guy, Mike, who was a very wealthy lender, and he was lending me money. And I asked him, I said, how are you lending money? And he said, I do it for my own private bank. I just told you everything. And here's the kicker. He was, or you were, or anybody puts money into this whole life. And then what you do is you take the money from the whole life policy as a loan. In other words, the insurance company gives you a loan from their general account, which they've got plenty of it, up to the amount that you have in your account called your cash value. But when they give you the loan, just like almost a HELOC, you're not using your money. So because you're earning interest and dividends compounding in the account, and the insurance company is giving you their money as a loan, yes, they're charging you interest, but they're charging you interest at a lower rate than what they're paying you. So let's just do some math. If the insurance company paid you 6 and charged you 5, hypothetically, what would you have done? Easy. You made a spread, just like a bank. But now every year, because of mathematics and compounding interest, your spread goes up because the interest rate the insurance company charges is a fixed, simple interest rate, but you're compounding on an increasing balance because that's how it works. So that's how you do it. And then wherever you put the money, self-storage or me investing in you to get self-storage to get a return, I take the return that you give me and I do not put it back in a traditional bank because I've already shunned the bank. I don't want the bank to use my money. So I take that money and I go around the bottom part of the circle and I put it back in the policy, which is repaying the loan to the insurance company, reducing the APR interest rate I'm paying the insurance company while my money's going up. Ineffectively, I am literally making money twice on the same dollar. And every year I make more than I did the year before. And I don't need to worry about the markets. I don't need to worry about the Fed. I don't need to worry about anything. It just keeps going up. That is what I teach. And that is why you were interested in doing this for what you're doing. Because you're like, well, I'm already saving money. I'm already using money for these self-storages. How do I make more without working harder, longer, or taking on more risk? Change where your money goes first. Sorry about the little commercial, folks. I didn't mean to do that. This is all about way this business, but you asked.
I love it. And wasn't it Einstein that said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world?
Yeah. And he went on to say it's the most powerful thing in the financial world, which it absolutely is.
And I think the interesting thing that's relevant here is that I had this paradigm for all of these years that whole life is this
worst place you could ever put money.
Yes, the worst place ever. And maybe it is for some of those policies where they're structured and they're not structured to be your own bank. But when you explained that at the mastermind, I was like, my mind was blown. I was like, holy shit, this is the way to do it. Like,
yeah,
why don't more people do this? And I think it's that paradigm, that people get stuck in about how it's not a good investment.
Because it's not an investment at all. So that's the first thing I would tell anybody. I hate it when people say, oh, I want to put money into that whole life investment thing. I'm like, it's not an investment. So there's no risk. Like, so you can't call it an investment. It's a savings plan. That's all it is. And here's the other thing too. In order to do them properly, and this is why most people don't know about it, it requires us or the agent or the advisor who's doing and designing the policy for banking to take a reduction in their commission of anywhere between 60 and up to as much as 90% of their commission. So you got to find somebody that's willing to give up 80, 90% of their income in order for this to even work. And you're not going to find many advisors or insurance agents that could even do that because they'd never make it. So that's the first piece. The second piece is you got to get over your limiting mindset that every whole life is the same and is everything you've been taught in your life is the truth, because it's not. And I'll prove it. Banks, which we've been talking about, the bastards, they're the number one purchasers of whole life insurance in the world. I mean, to a massive extent. Look it up. Look up Bully, B-O-L-I, okay, because that means bank-owned life insurance. And just Google, how much do banks own of Bully? And you'll find FDIC.gov will come up. It'll show you the banks. And depending on how many you look at, but it's hundreds of billions of dollars that the banks are putting your money, their tier one capital. So it's your money, your deposits. They're putting that into whole life, but yet they're telling you not to put your money in whole life. You can figure that out on your own time, but it just opens your eyes and makes you at least sit there and question why, and why would the banks do that? But anyway, Wade, I got to get back to your self-storage because I didn't want this to go down the rabbit hole of IBC and banking and all that good stuff. But we all know banks suck, which has created trouble for you and everybody else in the space to raise capital to build these self-storages, but you figured it out through syndicating your deals. Now, can you just real quick, just in the simplest way, explain syndication to my audience first, and then let's go down and just so everybody knows, I'm going to say this, and this might not be good, but I do not like syndications. Never have. I've done lots of research on them. But Wade, the way you do syndications and the way most of the other folks do syndications is drastically different. And that's why I'm going to invest in yours and nobody else's. So tell the audience, what is a syndication? And then I will kind of cue it up as to what you do different.
Awesome. So I love things simple. So I try to keep it as simple as possible. So there's a GP, which is us, stored as a development company, and there's limited partners, LPs, or the equity or the investors that come in. So we're raising, for the deal we just raised in Delano, California, we raised $3.5 million. So that's the LP portion of it, and they own 65% of the deal. The GP store it, us, owns 35% of the deal, and we handle all of the development. We found the site. We are going to develop the site. We're going to lease up the site and get it stabilized to either exit and sell to someone else or keep in our portfolio to keep making revenue. And I think, I didn't want to, you can fee these things to death. There's a million ways to do it. You can get acquisition fee, development fees, disposition. You can fee these things to death, and we keep it super simple, and we're not doing that. And I think the other thing that makes us a little bit unique is because I believe in the project so much, we're putting a lot of our capital alongside the investors. So we're part of that $3.5 million that's getting raised. We're putting $1 million of our money in addition. So we're really raising $2.5 million, putting $1 million of our capital in there. And then once it's stabilized, we model it out and see if it makes sense to either sell it or keep it in the portfolio and hopefully refinance it and get everyone paid back their equity dollars, and then it becomes an infinite return.
So I love that. So hopefully everybody's paying attention. So in that model, 65% is owned of the storage facility that they're doing by you, right? The limited partners that are investing in the deal. And then Wade and his company, they're the general partners doing all the work, finding the deal, building the deal, renting it, getting all the hard work out of the way. With the limited partners, really, they don't really do much of anything. But don't tell them that because, hey, they put the money up. And, the general partner is doing all the hard work and they're getting the lower percentage. So what you typically will see out there in syndications, and what I've found and what I don't like is, like Wade mentioned, they fee it to death. They dilute the ownership because it's always a higher ownership for the LPs, but they dilute that by fees for their time, right? Their time, their efforts, their energy, which, listen, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but what that's doing is giving the general partner more of the revenue from the deal, diluting the limited partners really from the cap stack, if you will, or from the income from the project. And at the end of the day, the limited partners typically are promised one thing, and well, a lot of these deals, they have not come through. But also, this is the reason I'm going to invest in this one. And I know how to do due diligence. And folks, all of you need to do your own due diligence. Make sure you get to know, like, and understand storage, how syndications work, how Wade's company works. Most important thing when you invest, never, ever, ever invest in something you don't know, like, and understand. So the thing he said last is, to me, the single most important thing. He believes in the deals so much that he's putting a huge chunk of the capital into it, and it's his money. So now he's got the most valuable thing, and that's skin in the game. So if the deal doesn't go good, Wade is up shit's creek, okay? So he's not going to let the deal go bad, right? He's going to work his butt off. His team's going to work their butt off because they got skin in the game. And that's the differentiator, folks. If you're going to invest in a syndication, go to the GPs, go to the owner and say, how much of your family's money is in this deal? And they have to be honest with you. Well, if they beat around the bush, as my dad used to call it, then walk away. But that isn't the case here. And that's exactly what I like most about what you guys are doing. Plus, I just love storage. And here's the other thing, Wade, and you know this better, but for the future of storage, when I think of storage facilities and I look at the future of it, it's pretty bright. Even if the economy goes to crap, even if we have another big recession, then all we need to do is look back to the Great Recession. And Wade, I'm going to let you tell them, because I know you know this. How did self-storage do during the worst financial crash the United States has ever seen since the Great Depression, called the Great Recession? How did storage fare during that time?
So really well. So I have a stat here. It says in between 2001 and 2023, the average return of self-storage was 20.87% return. And I think from just our experience in developing these properties, in a good economy, people buy more stuff and store it. In a bad economy, people downsize and need to store their stuff. So from my experience, our experience, it's good in an up and a down economy. And I think, Chris, the other thing I didn't point out, and maybe this might be interesting to your viewers, is that 35% from the GP, we don't get any of our cut. I mean, there's all these waterfalls that people do. Like I said, I like things simple. We don't do waterfalls because a lot of times there's hurdles and the GP gets some money. We don't get any of the 35% until all of the capital gets paid back to the limited partners.
No way.
And I think that's significant.
I did not know that. You probably told me that, but you told me a lot of things that I didn't know. And that's almost, I kind of like think about that. I'm like, holy crap. That's a commitment to your investors. And I bet you, and I know you told me about a deal when we were out in San Diego, and I was super interested, but we got busy when we got home. I never connected. And now that door for that deal is closed. How many of your investors, when you get out of it, when you sell a deal or refi a deal and they get their money back, how many of them reinvest back into the next project?
We've just started this process. So time will tell, but I suspect
it'll be a high percentage.
Yeah.
So for new investors looking to get in with you, like, you're either going to have to do more and more deals, which I know, you got 2 in the pipeline now that you're looking at, but you're going to have to do more deals or bigger deals, because those investors that got in with you in the first ones, because of the way you run it, because of the give attitude and give mentality, which we talked about this offline, folks. And, Wade is a giver, and you've heard me probably say this, but if you give, you get. And one of my mentors, Greg Reed, told me, give your best stuff away for free. Well, Wade is doing that to a whole nother level here, because he does not have to do that. The SEC does not require he does what he's doing. That is his prerogative to put the investors first and him in his company second. That is not normal. I'm just telling you. And because of that, he will have subscription into the next deals. His investors will reinvest into the next deal because they've had a positive thing. And for me, and I just want to hit one more thing about a syndication, because in a syndication, the limited partners are technically owners of the property. They benefit from the tax deductibility of the property and the depreciation of the property. And for me, not everybody, but for me, that is one of the most important things. I want to make money on my money. I want my money working for me. But if I can have my money working for me and I can get a little, tax deductible, incentive, so I don't have to give Uncle Sam as much, winner, winner, chicken dinner. So Wade, that's the case with yours as well, right?
Yes. And I think that for me, real estate's been so beautiful because you get the appreciation, right? The increase in value once you develop it, and you get the depreciation. So you get both. It's kind of like be your own bank. You make money twice. And for me, real estate's been that avenue.
Well, hey, now add the infinite banking concept and you make money 3 times on the same dollar. So like, as we kind of get to the end of this, I want to move into something you're really passionate about. And, I said it in this podcast, curse to a blessing. And I've been kind of just hinting around this, but gratitude. So you've been through a lot. You didn't grow up with anything. You climbed to have success. You were the first one in your family, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but I did my homework. First one in your family to go to college, which is a huge congratulations to you on that. But you've really done well and you've done amazing things for yourself, but you're grateful for it. Recently, I shared one of your Instagram videos where you did the 5-finger gratitude. Can you just explain what that is? And folks, check out Wade on Instagram, and he's making a huge push. He's going to put content up on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. You need to get around this campfire if anything we've said is interesting. So Wade, what is the 5-finger gratitude?
Yeah, really quick. It's so powerful. So if you just hold up your hand, the pinky is something very small that you're grateful for. The ring finger is a relationship that you're grateful for. This is the hardest one. This is an FU that you're grateful for. So, I had a business partner that didn't do me right. I lost a whole bunch of money, but I'm grateful for him because now I'm all in on a different, storage. The pointer finger is something you can point to that you're grateful for. And then the thumb, this is another powerful one, something in yourself that you're grateful for.
I like that.
And you can go through that just really quick in a minute, and it will change your state of mind for sure. Shift you from suffering or, angst to, a beautiful state or a powerful state.
Gratitude's a powerful thing. It really is. And, I'm trying to teach my daughter, she's 4, to be grateful. And I do that through prayer. But I also, every morning we wake up, I ask her, just put your hands together and just say, thank you for this day. And I'm trying to get her used to doing that every morning. She's 4. So, got to give her a little time. But that sometimes for all of you, you're not 4 years old. Put your hands together in the morning. Some of you maybe get on your knees, one knee, whatever you want. Put your hands together and it takes 5 seconds. Thank you for this day. That's it. Then go about your business, go down and get coffee, get in the shower, do whatever you do in your morning ritual. But if you open your day with gratitude and you close your day with gratitude, it will start to change your life. It doesn't happen overnight, but for some of you, maybe it will. And for some of you, you will have one of these events like Wade did, where something's going to happen. And all of a sudden, everything when you wake up is going to change. You're going to have to decide, is it a curse that you're going to live with? Are you going to sit there and, mother F everybody out there because of the curse? Or are you going to look at it as the biggest blessing in your life? Are you going to see that sometimes in life, one door closes so that the right door can open? And that is exactly what this is all about. So hopefully you're picking up what we're putting down. But Wade, there's a couple other things I want them to pick up. What is your YouTube channel, your Facebook, your YouTube? Let's talk about those so people can start following you.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's Wade Elliott, DMD. And we just opened our YouTube channel. We don't even have anything on there. We're just kind of getting going, but our Instagram and Facebook is Wade Elliott DMD. And we're just all about giving stuff away from workshops and masterminds and, principles that have helped me in my life and our team. And so appreciate you. I was thinking of a quote, Chris, that kind of ties into all of this stuff. And it's, all adversity carries with it a seed of equal or greater benefit. And sometimes we just need to water that seed to get an equal or greater benefit. And that, I just read that the other day and I'd heard it before, but it really resonated with me. And I think that that's important. And the gratitude kind of waters that seed.
I love that. Well, folks, in the description of this podcast episode, Wade Elliott, DMD, I'll put the link up there. Follow him on Instagram. Show him some love on YouTube. That's the hardest platform there is to grow. So as he starts putting footage up there, give him a follow. Smash that bell, as I always say. But last thing before we part ways here today, if people wanted to learn more about your next projects, because I know there's no opportunity now, but your next projects, how would they learn more about being part of your syndications and your storage facilities?
I think I'm going to partner up with you and we'll figure out a way to get it on your platform because I love what you're doing so much. So I think that would probably be the best place.
All right. Well, then I'll speak for you. privatemoneyclub.com. That was not planned. That is the first time, just so you all know, that wasn't like emptied before this.
not.
Like he's doing just fine raising money, but he learned about Private Money Club at the mastermind. And, now you're going to have access to his deals on privatemoneyclub.com in the future when he's got his next one. So folks, get into privatemoneyclub.com. It doesn't cost you a penny to open an account. Make sure you put a photo up. No one likes a faceless name, and go in there and start building a relationship. Find, Dr. Wade Elliott and go in and start getting around the campfire. And that's the best thing I could say. So Wade, I know you gave a great, the story here, and also your quote was amazing. What are your final parting words for my audience?
I would say always be learning and growing and giving.
Be learning.
Be intentional about learning and growing and giving.
I love that. All right, folks. Well, with that, that's another episode in the bank for the Money School podcast. With that being said, Wade, thank you so much for your time. Keep doing the good work out there. And every one of you, get around this campfire, learn and get to know how money works. With that being said, I can't wait to see you on the next episode or the next webinar or the next YouTube video. But nonetheless, I'll see you somewhere. Till then, have a good day.